Okay, Nate, today you wanted to talk about the Australian government, the Albanese government's proposed misinformation legislation.
Yeah, well, I was just browsing the internet and I came across this article on humanrights.gov.au, which is the Human Rights Commission's website. And I didn't know that the Albanese government was planning on bringing in these misinformation laws. Now, it's not that I think misinformation's okay or that we should lie to each other or that we should spread false information which confuses people, but I just think it's too much authority for the state to have to determine what absolute truth is for people. I mean, a lot of the truth is subjective, and we have to leave room for people to have their own interpretation of what the truth is. Certainly, there are absolute truths in the world. We know gravity exists. Despite what the flat earthers say, we know that the earth is a sphere. But see, even the flat earthers have the right to believe that the world is flat. But it seems from the article I was reading, and you can look the article up, I'll just tell you the name of the article. The name of the article is Why Misinformation Bill Risks Freedoms It Aims to Protect, and that's on the Australian Human Rights Commission's website. And in some parts of the article they seem to agree or be suggesting that truth is rather subjective and that this is too much authority for the state to determine what truth is. One argument I want to say about the state determining what truth is that if you're going to come in and you're going to start saying, oh, this is absolute truth and everything else is misinformation, you have to, in my mind, say that all religion, including the Bible and Christianity, is misinformation. And that is why you say we're not going to go around and be atheists who persecute people of faith. We're not going to persecute people of faith. So we can't come in and say, oh, you don't have the right to believe in a fantasy. And it doesn't matter if it's a fantasy. You know, I believe in magic and the tarot, and I've said this in a previous video about freedom of thought. You know, I believe in magic and the tarot and UFOs, and I believe that aliens visit the earth, right? So what? It's not your business to tell me what to believe. See, because, and especially in such a conservative culture as Australia, where people aren't very open-minded, like you meet a lot of people in Australia who wouldn't accept certain things as fact, which are proven fact, simply because they're very conservative and it doesn't fit their view of the world. So, we don't want... in some respects, it's good for the state to be able to determine what is true so that they can inform people, and it's important that the state inform people. But policies like this give the state the power to say to anyone who challenges them that what they're saying is misinformation. So it removes the public's ability to challenge the government and say that, because it gives the government this power where they could just lie and say everything that the opposition is saying is misinformation. So it's a lot of authority for the government to have to determine absolute truth, and that's some of the concerns that I have with it. It's important to me that power and authority remain in the public forum, because I believe the country should be run by the people, the population. So we don't want a state that can just dismiss the views of agitators and members of the public who disagree with the state coming in. We don't want any state to have that sort of authority to do that. So, that's the thing. If you wanted to target agitators and people who protest for change and take away rights to protest and rights to challenge the government, this is the sort of law you would bring in, because you could manipulate it to protect yourself by any occasion when an agitator or someone who is challenging the state's position does so. You can just label them as presenting misinformation, and then you can go further than that, and you can say that any agitator or anyone taking protest action is mentally ill or suffers a mental health condition, and then just totally write them off legally, and then you can re-educate them. You know what I mean? So this is the concern about the direction towards absolute authority that the laws of this nation have been taking, as I said in a previous video, pretty much post 9/11. All of this has been happening post 9/11 in this country. Laws have been getting stricter and taking away people's authority to challenge the state. So this misinformation law, now, fair enough, these misinformation laws are probably well intended and are probably designed to protect people from being lied to and manipulated by con artists. But regardless, it only takes the wrong person to come into authority with these powers already in place, and they could use these laws about misinformation to dismiss any opposition to their government. And that is the concern that people have with powerful misinformation laws that give the state all power to decide absolute truth. So I personally, my view, and I don't have any evidence for this thinking hypothesis, but I believe a lot of this is coming from ASIO. I believe these policies are being drafted because both sides of government have been bringing in laws like this for a while, and things just keep getting stricter. So I think a lot of this is coming from ASIO and the Australian Federal Police directing the way law is going in this country, regardless of whether Liberal or Labor are in power. I don't really like either Liberal or Labor. I believe in more small parties and more independent voices. Because I think the way things have been going in this country hasn't been working for a while. So we don't want the state to have absolute authority over us and us have no right to challenge the state. So I just think in relation to the misinformation laws that are coming in, how much power this gives the state to determine absolute truth. But some people want the state to determine absolute truth for them, and that's okay because it's also all right to trust the state depending on who's in government to tell you the truth. So it depends who's in government whether you feel you can trust the state to tell you the truth. But with the wrong person in government, you definitely don't want to trust the state to tell you the truth. So I'm going to be emailing this video to the Prime Minister when I publish it tomorrow on Saturday, so that he knows that I think these laws are dangerous, and so that I can say again, these laws are dangerous. So it's all about security and control, and it's becoming a terrible police state, and we need to shake the establishment up a bit in this country. So write in the comment section what you think about Australia's new misinformation laws. Thanks, guys.